I love these videos because there's so much to say about them. Sometimes I'm speechless with how insane the logic is. What if China got mad and attacked everyone?
Every country at once.
Well, see, this one, I'm surprised we haven't seen this scenario before. Obviously, when it comes to just a single country attacking everyone, there's the US and China that I feel like have the most interesting hypothetical situations. I mean, those are definitely the top two countries that spend about the most, and then you have to keep in mind China's massive population. Obviously, this nation has the largest standing army in the world, and it's not even close. So let's see which way they're going.
A massive army, and with more people being recruited, other countries would start getting worried. Their first victim would be Mongolia,
yeah, they're gonna
who wouldn't stand a chance
completely obliterate
Mongolia.
Mongolia, I mean, I'm always surprised at how little people are living in Mongolia. Only 3.3 million, yet Mongolia is actually a pretty big country. It's the world's 18th largest country in the world, but there's only 3 million people living there. So far, I absolutely agree with this. China would blast Mongolia into another dimension pretty much instantly.
They would now share a long border with Russia, who is their biggest ally. They would attack the whole Central Asia next, attacking 6 countries at once. Even though the enemy would have a much smaller army, they would still hold their defenses for a long time.
Okay, so far I have to admit, really like that there's no war with India just yet. Because remember, there is a giant wall here that separates India from China. Not only that, but you also have the Tibetan Plateau. It's funny because technically China and India are fighting right now somewhere up here. They're just literally fighting with sticks. It's the most insane thing. The only problem with this is there's not a whole lot of Chinese people that live this far out west. In fact, only 6% of everyone lives out this way. It's kind of extremely barren. I don't know if they'd be sending all 2 million of their active duty personnel over here. I don't think they really need to do that though anyways. This region only has 82 million people living in it, which compared to China's 1.5 billion, not a whole lot. So I do agree they're also going to obliterate
taking their whole
Kazakhstan, even Afghanistan too. Afghanistan, graveyard of empires, keep that in mind.
Be getting worried and would send their soldiers along with NATO to India, who will be the next Chinese victim. With China attacking...
Why? I wonder why... I mean, yeah, the US probably would call in NATO countries, but it's not really what NATO was for anyways.
In India, they would quickly run through some of their territory, but with the terrain advantage and a much bigger army, US and NATO forces would liberate India.
If you combined India, the USA, and NATO, yeah, that would probably be enough. That would be absolutely insane.
Into Chinese territory,
there probably would be...
tries to defend would be in vain, and after some time, China would fall.
The fight in the Tibetan Plateau, that would not be fun.
Ending this conflict.
I feel like we'd probably do some naval invasions too. Remember, we also have plenty of other allies in the region like Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, even the Philippines. The Philippines would love to start this war against China, so we'd probably open up like a D-Day front somewhere along the coast. I don't think fighting through... India would act like, I think, the USSR like in World War II in this scenario. Unfortunately, it would be Indian blood that would have to really fight a lot of the forces, just like the Soviets did with the Germans, and then starting up a second front against the Chinese, the D-Day, something like that. I like that Russia didn't get involved, just because why? You know, Russia probably would just be chilling. Then India will rotate its okay, that's right. India does have that, but for India, that symbol is okay. Just don't rotate it 45 degrees. Yeah, surprised that's actually not the first thing China did. These videos by 60 Second Club. Please go subscribe. How about another power in that region? Japan.
Every country at once.
They're going to attack every country at once.
Is send their army to their
which is kind of funny because that's how the videos are described, attacking every country at once, but that's not really what they do. They attack one country at a time.
Ally South Korea and prepare to attack North Koreans
together.
That
is interesting. Oh, is Japan allied to South Korea? I mean, kind of. But is Korea going to want to participate in an imperial Japan once again? Hell nah. I guess these two countries both have a pact with the United States, so I suppose it's known as the Trilateral Pact here. And the US has so many different random pacts with people. I mean, I don't think they're random, but there's just a lot of pacts. Anyways, for the sake of this video, I suppose we can just let this go.
With their combined army, North Korea wouldn't have a chance.
There's no way South Korea would, again, want to help Japan here, I feel. But whatever.
And before they could launch a nuke, they would be destroyed. Japan...
Before North Korea could launch a nuke, they would be destroyed. I don't know about that. I mean, did the Japanese and South Korean forces just capitulate the North Korean government within 3 seconds? Like, I'm pretty sure Rocket Man would only need about a minute before he, like, launches them into space. Yo, I gotta admit, this is the most fire picture I have ever seen of him. Okay, so they took out North Korea.
All of the conquered territory in exchange for a help in future conflicts. Okay. Japanese would quickly take Taiwan next, forcing China to attack them. However...
That was quick. That's a really interesting scenario that was just proposed, though. I mean, for Taiwan's entire existence, they've been waiting for an invasion from China. They're extremely prepared for this because they know that's a possibility. So why would we think that Japan and South Korea would just instantly obliterate Taiwan? Maybe they would win eventually, but it was just so fast. I don't know. Obviously, the Japanese historically took Taiwan.
China to attack them.
However, I don't know. I just don't think that's like an instant thing. Is it fair to say that China would be a scarier enemy for Taiwan than Japan and South Korea? I would make that assumption, but
make a mistake, since Japan and Korea would be a tough match.
Bam, they're trying to bring back Manchukuo. Again, Imperial Japanese days. They took Manchuria, China, and renamed it up here.
And Korea would be a tough match. This war would last for years, but without anyone helping the Chinese, they would lose in the end. With these two countries controlling the Asia now, Japanese would attack Mongolia and Myanmar, while South Korea would attack the Philippines. Because their armies would be weaker and smaller, they would barely be able to defeat their enemies and stop more battles.
Okay. I mean, if for Japan and South Korea aren't even having babies. How are they supposed to take out 1.4 billion people? Japan plus South Korea is not even hitting 200 million people. Even if you want to add in Taiwan and North Korea, it's still like 250 underneath million people. I mean, maybe in like the 80s or the 90s when Japan was very solidly the world's second economy, but China's a financial force nowadays. There's no way. I know they did good in World War II, but right now, 2024? Oh, yo, I gotta see these comments. North Korea wouldn't have a chance. Nukes, am I a joke to you? Yeah, don't remind these Japanese cities. China's nukes left the universe. Yeah, just really, really do not see this happening. That's very insane. Maybe if you had, you'd have to get like a really big alliance going on. You'd have to at least be allied to the Philippines, which there is kind of something going on between the Japanese and the Philippines. But you're gonna have to definitely pull in like Vietnam for sure against the Chinese. It would help if you got Russia, but they're probably not gonna do it. Maybe India, have Australia, Indonesia for some extra population. You might as well just throw in all the ASEAN nations for help. It's interesting because a lot of the comments aren't amazed by the like Japanese, South Korean win over China. They're talking about a lot of other things, but I'm focused on just that. Oh boy, what if Luxembourg got mad? Before I jump into this even further, I realize that, you know, these videos are just for fun, and they're killing it. People like to watch them. So I'm just trying to keep that in mind.
Got mad and took every country at once. Luxembourg wouldn't have much choices since they are bordering Belgium, France, and Germany.
Yes.
They would come to an agreement with the Netherlands and attack Belgium, who wouldn't.
You have to, okay? We have to do some fun things here to make this entertaining. I mean, I think the Dutch would be able to handle Belgium, probably.
Be able to hold both sides and would
I mean, especially if you cause some like internal strife. Remember that already Belgium is a pretty divided Frankenstein nation. So, you know, if you had like one side fight each other, I don't know.
Both sides and would be destroyed. However, Luxembourg would backstab.
Let's just suspend the. That's fine. That's fine.
The Dutch.
Whoa, Luxembourg is going to backstab
would be destroyed.
The Dutch.
However, Luxembourg would backstab the Dutch, attacking them unexpectedly and taking all of their territory, even after getting all this territory.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's fine. Remember, Luxembourg is a very rich nation. On a per capita basis, the population in Luxembourg is the richest in the world. There's like no poor people that live there. So maybe if warfare just becomes like whoever can buy the best war robots, then possibly Luxembourg wins. Every Luxembourgian buys like 10,000 Terminators. I just now realize, why do the Terminators have teeth? Okay, whatever.
Even
Luxembourg took over the lowlands.
And proclaiming the Greater Luxembourg.
The Greater Luxembourg, like that the flag changed.
France or Germany. They would choose to attack France, getting their army ready and trying to quickly knock them out.
Yeah, just
However,
like World War II.
The French have learned from their mistakes and would recruit as much people as they can and send them to fight. With France still alive.
Hold on, let me just 1 second. Population of the lowland countries, even with all those 3 countries combined, is still only 18 million, which for the record, Luxembourg doesn't even have 1 million, just over half. So yeah, the French are still 3 times bigger. They have 3 times as many people. The French also have a pretty good military, I might add, when it comes to the EU.
With France still alive, Luxembourg troops would be outnumbered.
I mean, also Germany would probably smash them on the other side.
French army wouldn't show mercy and would rampage through their lands, finally destroying them.
I do think the French could probably solo that nation, but more than likely Germany would help them and they would definitely get crushed. I'm just trying to think how I would do this scenario. Like, you need like some sort of massive uprising. You need people to go back to the motherland, but there's not that many people that actually live in Luxembourg. Remember, there is such a thing as a Greater Luxembourg out there. It's not that big, but yeah, maybe you could pull population from Germany, France, and Belgium. I feel like if I had to make an equal scenario like this, I would have just like shown Luxembourg buying a bunch of nuclear weapons and then just launching them everywhere. Bro easily allowed France to win for once. Luxembourg invading countries without having a military. Technically, they do have a military. It's just not, well, first of all, it's fully volunteered, and also it only has less than 1,000 personnel. That's insane. This is the most unrealistic channel I have ever come across, but you got the heart right here. They're just fun videos. Yeah, look, China 2 million, India 1.5 million, Luxembourg 1,000. Still 13 million views. People want to see it happen. What if Australia got mad? Pretty surprised about this because this video actually got some views as well. Not as much as the Luxembourg video, but a lot of people were interested in this scenario, so that made me a little more interested. Obviously, Australia is in a very secluded part of the globe, so I'm curious what they're going to do here. They do have a very interesting military they've been building up because they want to defend against a possible like Chinese invasion or Chinese threat that's happening in the north.
Is get their army ready and attack New Zealand. Since they wouldn't
I don't even think they need to attack New Zealand. I mean, they could probably peacefully just ask New Zealand to join them or mess with I mean, more than likely New Zealand would maybe just do it if you force their hand.
Expect this invasion, so they wouldn't have much time to react, which would result in Australia.
I mean, even if the Australians just straight up invaded New Zealand, yeah, this would probably happen. Sorry, New Zealand.
In all their territory.
I mean, I don't know, unless like the Shire rises up for them and they have hobbits on the front lines.
Their next target would be Indonesia and Papua
Now that would be hard.
Australian forces
Papua New Guinea,
on one of their islands.
I think you could take out Papua New Guinea. Papua New Guinea struggles a little bit, to say the least.
And completely take it.
Indonesia has a lot of people, though. It's important to note that population isn't like everything, because obviously you need to arm that population and train them as well. But the Indonesians do have the 16th GDP rank in the world, so they're definitely doing okay economically. The interesting thing for Indonesia is they're very split up on all the different islands. Obviously, the vast majority of their population lives on Java, where they're not getting to Java just yet.
Even though they would try to resist, Australian forces would be successful.
I mean, and the Australians also have a lot of training from the UK, the USA. There's a lot of backing. Maybe there's some Americans in there helping to fight for the Australian forces.
Successful and would land in their territory.
This in general is actually kind of interesting, just to think like Australia versus Indonesia. Although the Indonesian Navy is the 4th largest in the world. Meanwhile, the Royal Australian Navy is down in 20. Yeah, look at how many units. It's 243 units. What does that mean? So 243 ships? I don't know about this.
And finish them pretty soon. They would attack Malaysia and Philippines next, which would be their biggest mistake. Even though Malaysia would be destroyed, Filipino allies.
Malaysia, that side specifically of Malaysia would probably struggle. I could see them just wiping out that side. The part on the island of Borneo is a lot poorer, a lot less people live there. It would be much more tough. Well, so the Philippines.
South Korea would secretly go around them, while invasion of Philippines would begin. They would attack Australia, who wouldn't be guarded well, and would finally destroy them.
I mean, remember, that's a giant desert. I mean, if they're gonna have to walk through the outback, it's a fun scenario, but yeah. Glad that generally the comments agree. Indonesia forced 400,000, and Australia forced 17,000. That's where the scenario lost me. I mean, taking over New Zealand and Papua New Guinea, okay, but Indonesia would have been very difficult. Yeah, they probably should have just allied to the Kiwis, just to make this a little bit more easy. Remember, Australia lost a war to birds. But again, I mean, if I was forced to make Australia attack everyone, it's a difficult situation. I also did realize that video did keep out East Timor. They could have easily wiped out East Timor. I'd have to have like a way more intricate strategy. Maybe the Australians take out Singapore, maybe grab some African colonies, build up some strength. It'd have to be over the course of decades. What if Ukraine got their revenge, got mad and attacked?
Since Ukraine wouldn't
well, they're not going to attack everyone. They're mainly just going to attack Russia. They could probably attack Belarus too if they really wanted
to attack Russia. They would have to look elsewhere, and they would attack their neighbor, Romania. Moldova.
Is this before the invasion of Ukraine? I wasn't paying attention.
Since Ukraine wouldn't have the strength to attack Russia, they would have to look elsewhere, and they would attack their neighbor, Romania. Moldova would step in to help Romania, but that still wouldn't be enough, since Ukrainian army would be stronger.
Well, is this a Ukrainian army that isn't fighting Russia, and after all the money and military equipment and all the recruits and mercenaries that they've built up for the last 2 years? Okay, then maybe.
They would defeat Romania. They would make an agreement with their...
Everyone's going to be talking about NATO in the comment section. It's fine. Just let it go. Just let it go.
Friend, Poland. And together, they would attack Belarus and the Baltics, angering Russia. With their armies, they would quickly be able to defeat them, splitting all their territory.
With Poland's help?
Having enough, they would declare war on Ukraine.
Now that is interesting, to get a Polish alliance there. Poland's military is looking better and better. Defense expenditure as a share of GDP, Poland here is in 3rd, and they can't wait to push that Article 5 button too. I feel like the Baltics would maybe just...
With Russians having enough, they would declare war on Ukraine and Poland. This would be a mistake, since they would be...
That would be... I'm just saying, this is a good way to go about it, having Poland's help here.
Pushed back.
With the Baltics, I mean, let the Baltics just join. Just make the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth You have to think about war wariness. I'm thinking about that, war exhaustion after fighting these other countries. This is, you know, I mean, Ukraine just picked up Moldova and Romania. Maybe this is supposed to be over the span of 20 years. I don't know.
To defend. However, NATO would no longer support Ukraine, and with Russian secret force helping Romanians make an uprising, things would change.
That's interesting.
Russia would focus all of their army on Poland, pushing them back and force them to surrender, with Ukraine being alone.
Remember that one of the only places that beat Russia as of recently in like the modern times is Poland. I mean, I guess the Finnish, the Winter War, there was something there, but Poland won their independence by defeating the USSR. Obviously, this is kind of overshadowed because literally 20 years later, the Poles died to the USSR and Germans.
Surrender. With Ukraine being alone and having to deal with both Russian and Romanian forces, they would quickly collapse.
Fun scenario, I will say that. How is this Ukraine getting their revenge, though? On what? I think he forgot Russia is already attacking Ukraine and Ukraine is attacking. I wish that it was just prefaced. Remember, he only has 60 seconds to make these scenarios, so see, there's the NATO stuff. It's fine. But yeah, I like the idea of Ukraine getting more allies. You don't want to just give them any ally, but I do like the, you know, them getting Poland would have been interesting. You also just don't want to be like, oh, Ukraine gets nukes and they just start nuking people, because that's also too easy of a way out. I feel like Finland should have been included somehow. Finland would have been very interesting. Poles and Finns. Throw out Afghanistan, because the Afghanistan's, they fought USSR back in the 80s. They did a pretty good, okay job. I don't know. 60-second club. Nice videos. Always have a lot to say about them. As always, big thanks to my patrons. Month 2 in Drew's basement. Drew's Argentinian Grandpa. I'm back, boys. I can't sleep. Pavlik. Kansas was mentioned. Amateur Archaeology. aPhatNarwhal. Carmel Fredrik Tibblin. KingBearHaze. KirinoIsBestGirl. Mgmluthegoat. Tyrol. Tambre. Mexican 760. If you like your name here, check that link to Patreon down below.